Hello everyone, welcome to another ODNT Spotlight. I'm Steve DeWinter, your host, and we have with us today another author, a brilliant, wonderful horror author that has some really cool ideas, and we'll talk to him about that. His name is Matthew Harrill, and he comes with us with a trilogy that he has, starting with Hellbounce, which is the Ark Chronicles Part 1. That book is already out. Hellborn, which is Book 2, and the book that recently came out, August 27th, is Hellbeast, and Book 3 in his Ark Chronicles trilogy. And we'll talk to him if the trilogy is it, or if there's more to expect from him. Let's go ahead and let's switch on over, and let's meet Matt. Hello, Matt. Welcome to ODNT.
How you doing?
So, tell us a little bit about this Ark Chronicles series. How did this begin?
I've said this so many times over the last weekend because I've had a release party, but it was literally walking through my office, and you have that moment. Suddenly found myself thinking, well, I wonder what would happen if hell froze over. What would actually happen if there's demons in hell? Where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Are they going to escape? Are they going to fight? Are they going to die? And that was it. That was the story. From then, it was research, chat with them. It was a 2-hour brainstorming session with my mentor, David Farland, and that's had me writing for about the past 3 years.
Wow, excellent. And so you did, you basically took a concept of what if hell actually did freeze over?
That's right.
And now all of a sudden hell is not a hospitable place for all these demons.
Oh, yes. I mean, I guess one could say it's probably not a hospitable place at the best of times. But,
but they seem to love it, right?
That's it. In my warped mind, it's actually a fantastic place, but that's for the readers to find out.
It's a dry heat.
That's right.
Except for now, it's frozen over. So you went and you did a lot of research. I was researching you and saw that you mentioned you took about 10 months of research before actually sitting down to write your first book. That's
right. Yeah, for that one, it was absolutely ages because it was just a case of gathering ideas. And when you first come up with an idea for it was a novel, and I was always thinking it's going to be more than a novel. You don't. I'm not the type of person that just says, right, going to sit down, start writing. I've done that. I did that with the previous series, and you do end up just getting to a point like, well, where am I? So I consciously took the decision to take a different approach to this, and that would mean research and knowing where I'm going to go so that I've always got a point to get to.
So you decided with this one, so the first series that you did, you just wrote into the dark. You just sat down and started writing until you got to a point and turned around and went, well, now where do I go?
Yeah, not too much. I mean, there were external influences, shall we say, that sort of detracted from the writing.
Yeah, life likes to really get in the way of us writers.
Yeah, life's not great. Life's a bitch. But
it's not right for writers.
No, it's awful. I did some research. The difference is that the original series I was writing was a big epic fantasy series. I mean, the first 2 novels were 170 and 225,000 words.
Woo!
And the research that I did was to tape pieces of A4 paper to a wall and draw a map. And then, once you've got a map, which very unfortunately seemed to look just like the Robert Jordan map, this bullet time series, and it came to look like that through completely different means. Because I was like, all right, we've got an island, for example, in the south of England called the Isle of Wight, and I thought, all right, that looks good. I'll put that down there. And then we've got the Severn Estuary, which is the sort of the leg bit that sticks out at the bottom of Great Britain. And I thought, right, that'll go. And then adding all these bits together, and suddenly, right, yeah, that's the Wheel of Time map.
I've already read this series.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the Wheel of Time. I absolutely love that series. It's brilliant. But you can't then produce a map that looks almost exactly like it writing epic fantasy.
Yeah, the epic fantasy readers.
Yeah, in that you have to then you determine the geography. My area was called the Nine Duchies, and you then have to do geopolitical information. What are these people? What are their races? How do they get on? What does each area consist of? How do they interact? This series, I just wanted to set it in the real world so that I didn't have to worry about that. And I've absolutely loved writing in the real world, with the exception of the occasional demon. And it makes it a lot easier because now, with the internet being as accessible as it is, I can go anywhere on the planet and I don't have to leave my lounge. So my story, Hellbound, starts in Jamaica, and then it goes from Worcester, Massachusetts, down to Birmingham, Alabama, Egypt, and in the Middle East it ends. And I'm quite happy not going to the Middle East. Mountains in Afghanistan.
Not right now.
Now I think I can leave that. But on Google Earth, I can be stood on top of a mountain. I can see how it fades from daylight to darkness. It's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, Google that's changed everything. Now you can actually be there without ever having to leave your couch.
Exactly. And if I feel I need to speak in a foreign language, I can Google Translate. It's not perfect, but it's better than it has been.
Yes, definitely. You don't have to try to hunt somebody down at the library who can speak that weird Russian dialect that you're looking for.
So I'm fluent in Google Translate. You should just ask members of my street team. They said, right, we want an interesting post from you. So I wrote it entirely in Finnish.
Excellent. Google Translate is your friend.
Yeah, I love it.
So when you were looking at this, you mentioned that you had a mentor helping you out with this.
That's right. I've known David Farland. He's a New York Times #1 bestseller. He's the head judge of L. Ron Hubbard's Writers of the Future competition. And he's been a mentor to so many people. People with success. Stephanie Meyer, who wrote Twilight, he's been a mentor to her. He taught her at Brigham Young, I believe. Or is it Brigham Young?
I've heard it said Brigham Young.
I think it's Brigham Young, but over here with G and the H, it tends to be silent G. So
right.
But then
names break all the rules.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we say tomato. No,
potato.
Yeah, that's it. Potato. No, we don't.
Yeah, there's still potatoes.
No, there's no potato. These are very twisted. But yeah, so I've known him for well over a decade, and he has daily writing tips which anyone can get on an email. But beyond that, he's helped me whenever he's had the opportunity to, because they're close friends of the family, him and his family, even though they live in Utah and we live in England. But
once again, the internet comes to the rescue. Exactly.
The world is so much smaller nowadays, and it's better for it. So it was just a case of talking through the idea with him. And the best bit is that when I get enthusiastic, people around me tend to get enthusiastic. And he actually stopped doing his work because we just spent hours talking about this project and what ideas we could put into it and where it could go. And I wouldn't say it's ever going to top the New York charts. Well, there's no reason why not.
Right.
But with the current level of exposure, that's not going to happen. To be honest, I'm taking the writing world one person at a time at times, and I'm happy with that because every single person comes back with the same response, saying, "Oh, I couldn't put the book down."
Yeah,
that's great because there's a mechanic to it. With this old fantasy series, some of my chapters, most of them were 10,000 words long, and that's a lot of reading. That's dedication to read this. Right. I've cut it by quarter, so you've got short chapters. Things happen. You have to get from A to B in a chapter, and that means lots of small chapters. You are moving along at a terrific rate.
So in your new series, the Art Chronicles, you did shorter chapters.
Exactly.
So that it makes a much faster read.
Yeah, and one of the big feedbacks the most common feedback I was getting was, well, I just thought I'd read another chapter, then I'll read another chapter, and then it was 2:30 in the morning. And I've had people cussing me because they haven't got any sleep. Not my fault.
Yeah, and that's what you want.
Yeah.
And that's excellent. So tell us a little about the main character. You've got a very interesting main character for your series.
If we're talking about Eva.
We're talking about Eva.
We are talking about Eva. Eva is based on a real-life person called Eva, Polish girl I used to work with.
At least you're
And,
imaginative.
exactly. And I changed it slightly because she's Polish, and the way they spell Eva in Polish is with a W, and I didn't think it would read right if I'd written it with a W in it. So we did change that. She was happy with that. I hadn't been writing for a number of years with the old writer's block. I mean, it must have been 8 years between the fantasy series and this. And she'd read the fantasy series, and she said to me, "Well, why aren't you writing?" And I said, "Well, writer's block. I just, I don't feel I don't want to." Well, no, sorry, no, she would not accept it. She would not take no for an answer, and I love people like that, because it was just a case of, in fact, you find yourself thinking, well, yeah, what is writer's block other than a lazy excuse to not write? So
Exactly.
I made sure with that in mind. That's why I went about the notes and the planning, so that I knew I would never be in that position again, and it's worked great. But yeah, Eva Ross, the character, she's a psychiatrist in a criminal institution in Worcester, based on trying to think back, is it the University of Massachusetts Hospital? Basically, there's this old clock tower in Worcester, and it looks absolutely fantastic. I mean, it looks scary and haunted, and I thought that's perfect.
That's where she's going to work.
Yeah, it used to be sort of a psychiatric hospital for criminals. I don't believe it is anymore, but I was like, well, that's not going to stop me.
Right. It secretly still could be.
Exactly. And Eva is torn between, trying to look out for herself. She's in a loveless marriage with a jock. He's jealous of her intelligence. People around her that she's known for years, her own mentors and such, are, let's say, starting to exhibit characteristics that she didn't expect them to. And she finds out that she's basically being put on a path to do something that she doesn't want to do, and tries to escape it. And that's where Madden, the other main character, comes in.
So it sounds like you were put on the path of, you have to write another book when you didn't want to. And so you put a little bit of yourself into this character.
There's a lot of me in all of the characters. I've had people coming back saying 1 minute they're scared to death, and then the next minute they're laughing their heads off. I do like to throw in my sense of humour into all the characters. I wouldn't say I consciously said, right, this character's going to be like this character's going to be like that. I never intended for this series to end up the way it has done. The initial idea was, well, I love Lovecraft, so why don't we write a modern day Gothic tale, a modern day Lovecraft? So initially, that was the idea, was to start off writing something like that. That's why I started in the northeast of the States, because that was where Lovecraft based all his works.
Right.
But it became very apparent very quickly that this series had a voice of its own. And it was a voice I was just thrilled to discover, because even with all of the notes and all of the planning, once you start writing, it just takes over. So I've got everything in my head. I can see all of these books as movies, which means it gives me a very visual style, and I think people pick up on that because everything is described, not over described. I've read some stories where they are absolutely, the hand had a nail pointing this way with a ring that had this on it, and you go on forever.
Yeah, too far.
Yeah, E.L. James syndrome.
Right.
Everything is just described to the nth degree, and you don't need that. But at the same time, you do still need to write about what I've been told by David, as you need to describe all the senses. If you're going to portray a character to people, they are seeing, smelling, touching, tasting, and you need to make sure that comes across. And I think people pick up on that.
Excellent. And then you also write very cinematically as well.
Yeah. It's and that's intentional, because I see myself as basically a narrator for this vision in my head that I can't get out.
Very Lovecraftian.
That's it. And unfortunately, there's more of these visions, and I keep having to write them, and they won't leave me alone.
The tortured author. So you've got book 3 just came out August 27th, Hellbeast.
That's right.
And was this planned as a trilogy? It says the Chronicles of Arc Part 1, Part 2, Part 3. I don't see where it says trilogy anywhere. Is there going to be Part 4?
No, there's not going to be part 4. At the moment, I'm writing a one-off story that takes place in the first week of Hellbounce, and it takes place in Worcester and in a town called Holden, which is just outside of Worcester. I've just found that I've just completely fallen in love with Massachusetts. I think it's an absolutely gorgeous place. I think that area sort of helps in that there's a lot of very familiar names. Because obviously they've named loads and loads of their towns after English towns, because I guess is it I don't know if it was the Pilgrim Fathers or obviously people had sailed over there from Britain and
wanted a familiarity with it.
Exactly,
so they renamed it all the same stuff.
Well, that's it. Worcester is an hour up the road from me, and Massachusetts has got Bristol, which is where half an hour down the road. Bath, I think. York. I had to look at a map, and I was just reeling off lots and lots of minor names. There's a place called Leominster, which is again English. But I can guarantee these people don't see themselves as having any connection other than
no, we're Americans. No.
But so this one-off book is in dedication to my son. He's got type 1 diabetes. So I thought, right, I'm going to write something a bit supernatural. It's going to involve diabetes because obviously my son's had it since he was 3 and he's 12 now. So
right. So
we are pretty much experts on the juvenile type of diabetes, and I thought, right, I'm gonna put that into a character. There's going to be a nasty, and it's all going to be connected. But after that, I'm writing another trilogy in the Arc series.
Excellent.
And that will be involving consequences from the first trilogy, but about 20 years down the line.
Oh, wow. So tell us what ARC stands for. The ARC are all capital letters. It's an acronym for something.
It is. It's French. It stands for Ange de la Résurrection des Chevaliers, which is, in English, Angels of the Knight's Resurrection.
That is so cool.
I wanted something that was a bit biblical, also foreign, because in the story, the founder of ARC is a Frenchman called Jérôme Guillemard. And he happens to be the first person to see what is a hellbounce. And a hellbounce being, the description is a demon that has returned to Earth in the body of the mortal that it was when it was a mortal.
Oh.
So let's say you die.
Right.
And you'll go to hell.
I haven't been very good.
Yeah, you look like a real dodgy chap, I've got to say. But you go to hell and you serve your time. The science of it is it's random, so you don't have demons pouring back onto Earth in this process because they don't know how to control it and they don't know how to make it happen, which is part of what the bad guys are doing in this series, is trying to make a way to open portals to hell.
Trying to make this random event less random.
Exactly. And then there's a big part in Birmingham, Alabama, in a place called Sloss Furnaces, related to that in the first book. But so you would die, you would come back, and the limits are you'd come back in the body of the person you were, in the place that you died, but not at the time. So I've had a whole lot of fun playing with different eras and bringing people back from, we've got Ku Klux Klan in there, coming rarely in the Northeast, but there were pockets,
right?
Especially when you come down the Appalachians and such. That obviously the closer you get to the south, the more there are. So that was a whole bunch of research. Alexander the Great's army, when my characters were over in the Middle East, that was good fun. So, you're on a road in a car, suddenly massive army comes out of nowhere. By pure chance, and these people, they don't know where they are. Everything has changed for them. I found that you can't just make everybody sort of beautiful, gorgeous, strong. Characters need to have flaws. The Hellbounce's flaw is that if you lose control of the demon that's inside of you, erupts. Let's say. I mean, if you imagine, have you ever seen the first Blade film?
Yes.
At the end, when all the sort of skeleton demons are erupting out of those people, when the blood god's coming along,
Right.
that would sort of be how your hellbounce erupts. But once the demon's out, it's got a limited shelf life. So as far as there are less demons on Earth than humans, once that balance is tipped, we're doomed.
We're doomed, so we got to stop it.
So you've got all-powerful demon, but he's going to evaporate or whatever, or melt within sort of half an hour of becoming a demon. So, excuse me, you can't just have demons on the loose with no consequences. And I thought that you need that. You can't just have a be-all and end-all that is a big monster and that's it, they're running rampant. You always need to be able to have a way to deal with these things.
And that's what Arc does.
That's what Arc does. Arc is your shield. It's your big mysterious organization. Clearly, I couldn't use shield.
I think you found a great name with Arc.
I wanted something that sounded biblical, and this wasn't even Google Translate. I needed somebody fluent in French to get that correct.
Right.
But from that, I could then create a history, and obviously, with using the real world, that was probably the one bit I had a lot of fun with, was working out the history of this organization. And I don't feel the need to leave them just in nowhere. I mean, this next trilogy will be, it's going to be called the Arc Legacy, and I've already got the 3 titles lined up. First one's going to be called Thorn Falcon. Second one's going to be called Fear Vent, and the last one's going to be called Shepherd's Warning. And since I've been down south, shall we say, I'm thinking I'm going to be going a different place for this next series, with entirely my own vision, because my vision of hell is not most people's vision of hell.
Right, it's not the standard vision.
No, it's not all fire and brimstone. It's very different. But that's for people to read in the 3rd book. Again, I had a lot of fun working that out. So I don't really know what's going to happen with Heaven yet, but I'm thinking it's not going to be standard.
Excellent. So when first you're going to write the short story or a novella.
It's going to be a full length novel.
The side story one.
Yes.
Oh, excellent.
That's going to be my hope with agents and publishers, because that doesn't have a link to a previously self-published series and stands out on its own. I'm going to do the usual thing and try all the agents and such. I have one who did say to me when I sent Hellbounce out, look, that's self-published, but if you can produce any work that isn't linked to a published series, I'll definitely have a look. I thought, well, that's encouraging.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've had good feedback from this series, especially Hellbounce. That started, as people have said, that started off as a standalone book, but then became part of a trilogy. Sort of, if you look at The Matrix, the first film is on its own,
right? It's complete.
Has a beginning and an ending, and then you add on the other 2 to expand the universe. And that's really what I've been doing with the other ones, was expanding the universe. And Hellbeast was just great to write. I loved it.
Yeah, and it's got a really good cover too. You got this big fiery hand coming down to smash the guy.
I've been lucky with the cover artist. She's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, let me switch over here. So there's Hellbeast. You got that big fiery hand.
I don't know if you want me to tell you about the cover. It's spoiler-tastic, is that cover.
All right, spoiler alert.
Only if you know, yeah. Spoiler alert, that's Madden. And that is in the deepest pit of hell, which we shall call, for lack of better description, Tartarus.
Aha!
Well, I did like using... There are lots of descriptions of hell. I did very much like sort of, your Greek underworld type of hell. There are maps. Dante's, is it Virgil's map of hell, I believe, and somebody has depicted a map of hell. And I thought, right, great, use that. Change the names.
There you go.
it's all written in Latin, so I thought, well, I'm probably going to get away with that.
I think the copyright has expired on that map.
Yeah, I'd say probably he's not around anymore, but.
And so that was part of the research. When you were defining your own hell for this series, did you sit and research all the different religions and historical people and everything of what they all thought of hell was like?
Yes, yeah, I did. And hell isn't just your place for sinners. It is in many religions. It's an afterlife. In my work, it's actually let's say a halfway house. You're not getting into heaven if you haven't been through hell. We all go to hell.
Right.
I think that's probably quite close to the truth, to be honest. But
your story was just preparing us all for it.
Well, that's it. Let's face it. I don't think Pope Francis is ever going to be inviting me to dinner. Let's put it that way. I sort of, rewrote the Book of Revelation when I was doing my notes, and I've got a very different take on it. And that being said, I have had people read it who are quite religious, and if they're open-minded, that's fine, because they're just like, what? It's a story. I choose this as my belief. And you've written it this way, and that's fine. As I say, I'm not overly religious myself, but I have a fantastic respect for anybody that does have religion and uses it in the right way. As we know, in this day and age, it's used awfully wrong in so many circumstances.
Some instances, yes.
Yeah. But I'm sort of a live and let live type person. I don't sexuality, religion, race, color. I don't care.
Right. Let me do me. I'll let you do you.
Exactly. Live and let live. As long as people aren't forcing their opinions down my throat, that's the only time I tend to get defensive. Other than that, let people do what they will. I have no problem with anybody.
Excellent. I really, really like the concept in your second book, Hellborn. You made Eva pregnant through that story.
That's right.
Which now all of a sudden, here's our kick-ass heroine. She's going to save the world. Well, wait a minute. Now she's got something else to deal with.
That's right. I did a lot of research for that. I mean, I'm the father of 4, so I've had a fair bit of experience myself. But I was quite pleased that a lot of women who've read it said, "Yeah, you got the labour quite accurate there." And I used a lot of my own experiences. Especially when the baby's being born. I mean, by the time my 4th one came along, we had so many problems. We were in hospital every other week because she was small, and it just became too much for me. And I actually walked out during labour and sort of went cowered in the reception of the hospital. And this guy sat me down. No, he didn't sit me down. He just sat down next to me, and he was like, "Yeah, I've been to the birth of all my kids. I wouldn't miss it for the world." And I thought, yeah, you're making a good point there, mate. So I went back in, right there for the business end of it all. But that actually became a very good scene when, and I used that in Hellborn for an experience Madden has, because it's a very, very emotional, intensive experience.
Right.
Watching someone, watching your wife give birth, and there's nothing you can do. You just, the husband is just stand there, and think. One of my kids, I was boiling water. Another one, I was counting seconds on a watch.
Yeah, I was. I only have the one son, and I was holding one leg, and I was right there for him, just like,
"Come on!"
I sit there and I look at adults, on the size of the head compared to the body, and so I see the head come out. I'm like, okay, then all of a sudden, boom, head. Yeah.
Well, we had with the birth of my first son, we had that moment where head came out, and the whole place went quiet, and everyone just went, "Ooh." My wife's like, "I can't see what's happening."
Somebody tell me what's going on.
All right. Ooh. Yeah, but she was also. I mean, she gets pregnant quite early on. Spoiler.
Uh-oh.
So she's actually pregnant during a lot of Hellbounce as well. And it's a very special baby, but that's for that's one for the readers.
That's one for the readers. And I went and I checked out the beginning intro of Hellbounce, and you sucked me into the story right away.
Have you read it yet?
I have not read the whole thing, but I just went and I read the first chapter.
Yeah. Are we talking the first chapter or the prologue?
Prologue.
Pick
Prologue
up.
and a little bit of the first chapter.
Right.
And I mean, you sucked me right into it, and I'm like, oh, this is cool. And you leave me with questions that I want to know what's going on. So
that's definitely something I seem to have a knack for.
Yep, leave us wanting more.
Yeah, I've actually started releasing Hellbounce on Wattpad, just sort of half a chapter a week, just to and people may pick up on it. I think a few people have had a read, but it's just one of these many social media things just to try and generate some interest.
Right, try to get more out there to say, hey, this exists.
Exactly.
It's out there, and awareness is one of the big hot button issues.
Absolutely. I mean, it's what we're doing here. It's my work is not for a lack of what I think is half decent writing, and although I'm not at my own ass about that, I always know that there is room to improve. It's just that people have consistently come back. You look at the reviews, and this isn't me saying, "Oh, can you write this?" I'm very, very strict when I say to people, "Give me a review." I want it to be honest. If you don't like my book, if you've gone through and you've read it and you've spent the time reading it, you still don't like it, say why. Maybe I can do something about it.
Right, in my next one.
Exactly. I think that readers, I think reviews are very important. And any writer that says, "Oh yeah, I don't look at my reviews," we all look at our reviews.
Oh man, can't help it. It's a horrible thing to do.
It's like a religion. We want to torture ourselves, but everybody has pretty much consistently come back saying, fast paced. I've enjoyed the characters. I love the setting. The way it flows. And I'm thinking, well, I've done quite well, and I've won a few awards with Hellbounce as well. Just this time last year, I picked up runner-up in the horror category of something called the Halloween Book Festival, which is just so cool to be a part of.
Excellent.
I came runner-up to a chap called Nick Cutter, who's a horror author at Simon & Schuster. I thought, well, it's just little old me, and I'm no one. And then Simon & Schuster's the only one that's beaten me. Well, that's got to say something.
That's definitely got to say something.
I picked up a few more. I was finalist in the International Book Awards, which I think is the most prestigious one, because that's the only one I found that's actually got a link on Goodreads.
But that's good, and that's all part of the validation to say, hey, the writing is solid, everything is good. It's just getting the word out there, which is a challenge. I've written 10 books, and no one knows I exist.
Yeah, that's it. David Farland says to me, these awards are a stake in the ground. We went in for these awards just to see how I would do, just to see whether it would get any recognition, and it did. So that's great. It's a good start. It doesn't mean I'm going to be making a fortune like Rowling or Stephen King or someone within the next 6 months. I might never, but as things stand, this is just a hobby for me. I have a full-time job and the kids and everything that I do. I write my books on a bus on a little Google Nexus tablet, going to and from the office, and during most of my lunch breaks as well. So I've got a couple of hours a day that I put into the books. They don't fly along. One a year is pretty much what I can do at the moment, given that 6 months of that will be research.
Right.
And I'm happy with that, because it seems to come along all right. I've got 3 books out now. There'll be a 4th probably sometime in the new year. I'm writing this single novel at the moment with the hope that actually I think, well, I could write a series of individual books there if someone showed any interest in it. So that's probably how I'll pitch it. Is this is an origin story, let's say, and I could have an offshoot of the Arc series. But in my head is Thorn Falcon, the next Arc book. I'm writing this book. By the way, we haven't said the title is "The Eyes Have No Soul."
Ooh, nice. And then and then when you take this solo novel out, you can point to the success you've had with your Arc Chronicles trilogy. And say, look, my writing is good. People love me. I've gotten these awards. I'm just barely making it. I'm ready for the next level.
Exactly. I would like nothing more than the big agent publisher experience. If it happens, then great. But I'm not going to go around pretending that I am something I'm currently not. but I will keep writing, and I don't see that stopping anytime in the future.
Right. And most people, when you really look into it, it takes about 10 to 15 years of solid hard work to be an overnight success.
Exactly.
So
And
you're working your way
I've
there.
I've got lots of books. I mean, I've got a possible trilogy after the Legacy trilogy, which I'm at the moment calling the Arc Eden, but that's so far down the line. I'm finding myself thinking, well, wouldn't it be good if angels made humans sin in order to stop them coming into heaven?
Ooh,
I love twisting all this stuff.
that's
It's
so
brilliant.
good.
But that's got to be a good 4 years down the line at least.
Well, it's good that you have your long-term goals in place as well as what you're writing next.
That's it. And I have to set that out because big family life and a full-time job. I just don't have time to not plan things ahead. I'm a planner. They say, are you a plotter or a pantster? Well, I'm an uber plotter now. There's people say, oh, can you write me some flash fiction or a short story? Well, probably not.
Yeah, it's going to take me 3 months to research that 100-word story.
So, I would love to, but I would need to research it first.
Yeah, I find that, I went and I was restricted to no more than 5,000 words for an anthology I was writing for, and I must have generated about 20,000 words of outline, ideas, research that I then had to cram into under 5,000 words.
Well, that's going to be a challenge for me. I'd love to be part of an anthology at some point, just to see if I can write something short with a beginning and an end. Because obviously, 5,000 words for me is 2 chapters, and
Yeah.
at a push, I can rattle that off in next to no time at all, with a structure. I mean, The Eyes Have No Soul was initially just going to be a short story about a kid who was possessed by a demon, and then I thought, well, no, actually, I quite like the idea of putting this into a big full story, and I just can't keep a lid on ideas when I start working on them. It just grew and grew.
Yeah, my stories get way too big. I know for me. They can't stay small.
Well, I say that was a problem with the epic fantasy series, and I love fantasy. I mean, we're obviously doing this as part of the fantasy con that's online,
Right, the Virtual Fantasy Con on Facebook.
and I'm a massive fantasy fan. Of my mentor David Farland, he's written a series called The Rune Lords, which is just awesome. Wheel of Time, God, Terry Goodkind, I love all his books. David Eddings, old classic stuff like that. Game of Thrones, well, I gave up on that because he just takes too long to write.
He's not going to finish it.
I find that Game of Thrones is probably going to be now driven by the TV company rather than what George Martin's writing himself.
They've already said that they're going to finish the series before he finishes his books.
Exactly.
So they're going to be done with the TV before he's written his books. So it's going to really diverge.
I got bored after about the third book. Not bored of the writing. The writing is magnificent, but I just can't. Having written some books myself, I can't see what the problem is. That if he's got the ideas, getting it into a story can't be that much of a problem because he's got everything as small chapters all going in different directions. So he knows what Daenerys Targaryen's going to be doing next, or it's not Sansa Stark. Who's the other one? The little one with the brown hair.
Oh, I can't remember it right now.
Arya Stark, that's her name. He knows what they're all going to be doing next. And I don't know what the issue is. Maybe too much hanging around with beautiful actresses or something. I don't know. So,
He's just taking a sweet old time.
I feel sorry for the guy, clearly, but
Excellent. So you talked a little bit about H.P. Lovecraft and Wheel of Time and everything. What has heavily influenced your work? Because you call yourself a horror author, but it really sounds like you're doing very supernatural action type stuff.
Yeah, so we've using my query letter to agents, we put it as a supernatural horror thriller. I think is how we put it. The horror concept is there are scary moments and there's the occasional bit of gore, so it falls into that category. But it's much more a horror of the mind. It's a psychological horror. It's exploring what happens if you are unable to control yourself. Ultimately, let's call it Hulk theory.
The rage inside.
That's it. Once the rage takes over, you become big and green in his circumstance. In my circumstance, once the rage takes over, well, that's it.
That's game over for you.
Exactly.
So definitely learn to control it.
That's it. And that's where Madden comes in. He is a hell bounce, but he's such a minor hell bounce. And it turns out that there's, let's say, a ranking amongst demons. Excuse me a second.
Okay.
3 weeks of having a cold.
Oh no, not fun.
No, and I'm at the coughing my guts up stage.
Is it at the lingering stage where it's just you got the cough for the next month? Oh,
I hope not. I sincerely hope not. But I don't mind talking. The only problem is, and then my throat gets dry. Yeah. So it was meant. I mean, Lovecraft is strange, weird horror. So I wanted to explore that if I could. But then the series took on more of the action and the adventure because I love writing that. Someone described it as if Clive Barker had worked on the Da Vinci Code.
Oh.
That sort of sums it up.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
Yeah. So, sorry.
That's okay. So, well, we only got like one more main question for you here.
Yeah, let's go for it.
And everything before
you
interview. Keel over dead.
His guts up.
Before you keel over dead on your final interview.
one more question, and then I'll die.
There you go. So it better be a good one, huh?
Yeah, this better be quality.
So, what's your favorite pig out food?
I don't have any.
You don't have any?
No,
you mentioned when we were in the email when we were setting this up that you're doing this big exercise push.
Yeah, I'm doing the insanity workout, which is one of these. I think they advertise it on cable channels, or I mean, we saw it on an extra. It's one of these sort of infomercials.
When you're up at 1 a.m.
Yeah, some guy called Sean T, who's an amazing motivator, and you spend $150 to get this DVD set. And I found myself thinking, well, I'm close to 14 stone. I don't like that. Hang on, you don't use stones over there, do you?
No, we don't use stones over here.
Right, a stone is £14, so whatever 14 times 14 is. 140.
My math skills are horrendous. I'm a wordsmith.
£196.
Okay.
And I've lost 17 pounds since then, so I'm quite thin.
Excellent.
That was about 4 months ago. And I'm absolutely loving it. So as part of the exercise is a good diet.
Right.
So my diet is porridge oats, chicken breasts, salads, protein shakes. Pig out food's all gone. All of it.
Completely removed them.
Absolutely.
In favor of the better health, better looking body. Now you're a ripped author.
Oh, I'm getting there. I'm definitely getting there.
Excellent. Well, is there anything else that you would like, as before we wrap up this interview, potential readers and fans and people watching the video, anything you'd like them to know?
I can't think of anything, to be honest. I think we've covered all sorts here.
We've covered everything.
It's a little bit of a legacy of this last weekend. Is I was so talked out about the series because the event was 3 days, and it wasn't just sort of me doing 1 hour. I was all over it the whole 3 days, talking about various aspects. I actually got to the point where I couldn't talk about anything else. I was like, right. Here's some games. Play these games. Show me some YouTube videos. That'll do. Have a copy of my book.
There you go. People go, what would you like for dinner? Well, when she was dealing with all of her issues in the psychiatry hospital, it's like, no, that wasn't what I asked you.
That's it. It's been a busy few days, but all I'd say is if you get you can get the ebook, and I'll say is I'm quite happy to send an ebook of Hellbounce to anybody that wants to read it, who's prepared to give me a review. I've got the 3 books out now. Obviously, we authors love making money.
Of course.
But for me, it's a hobby. It's not my life yet.
Not yet.
Obviously, that's the end game. Is some big contract somewhere that I can then write full time, and then the novels will come a lot quicker. But if anybody out there wants to have a read of Hellbounce, you can contact me on Facebook. Just send me a message with an email address, and I'll send you the Kindle version of Hellbounce for free.
Excellent. And I've got... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, all I ask is an honest review.
Yep, and I've got the links for Matt. You can connect with him. I have his website. I have his Facebook, his Twitter, his Google+, and his Goodreads. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, CreateSpace sent me 5 copies by mistake. I've no idea why.
Oh.
They keep doing that. I was like, keep them coming.
Awesome mistake.
Yeah.
They never send me any by mistake. But yeah, so for Matt, I've got his website and his Facebook. So if you go to Facebook and send him a message, he says he'll send you a Kindle ebook version of Hellbounce for an honest review. Love it, hate it, don't matter. Just say why. And then he can learn from that. Or relish and bask in the praise. All right. Yeah. Well, hey, thank you so very much, Matt, for joining us on ODNT Spotlight.
Thank you very much, Steve.
And don't hang up on me just yet. I'll come right back to you. I'm just going to shut down the interview here, and I'll be right back. So there it is. That we just got done speaking with Matthew Harrill, and his Arc Chronicles series. The third book, Hellbeast, second book, Hellborn, and the first book, Hellbounce. If you go to Facebook, and I have the link down below. If you're watching this video embedded on another website, just click the little button that says down over there that says watch on YouTube, and then you can see the description down below. And you can go to Matt's Facebook page, just follow the link for there, and get yourself a copy of Hellbounce in exchange for an honest review for that. So once again, I'm Steve De Winter. Thank you for joining me for another ODNT Spotlight. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I have many more interviews with authors, artists, actors, musicians, publishers, all sorts of people. I'm looking to get some editors on here pretty soon. And so just don't forget to subscribe, like the video, share it with your friends, tell everyone about the channel. And thank you very much. Have yourself a great day. Bye.